Here's who I want to start with. I want to start with an absolute banger of a series because I think that that's what we want to start with. We're going to start with the Battle of Florida, the Florida Panthers versus Tampa Bay Lightning. What are you excited about for this series?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think with this one, you have the Florida Panthers who had a magical run last year that kind of nobody expected. But then you got Tampa who kind of had to battle pretty hard this year, starting out the season without Vasilevsky. They had to dig down deep to find some scoring and goaltending, and they got it. And when Vasi came back, they got his typical goaltending from him too. So, two really good goalies going up against each other in this one, and some real high top scoring there with Stamkos and Kachuk on either side. But I think this will be a long series, but it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch those two go up against each other.
I agree. Plus, just the in-state rivalry. Oddly, Florida's a really good hockey state.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I was at Walt Disney World this past week, and I just felt like the amount of hockey fans that I saw was just astounding. And it was a lot of Tampa fans, like people from Tampa that just like we were there on a weekend, like the amount of Tampa people that were just in their Lightning gear there for the day. I mean, it was unreal. They are ready for this series in Florida. And I think that this is, to me, one of the most fun series there is, just because of the history of this series, the hatred these teams have for each other. I really do believe they hate each other passionately. And then you sit there and you add into this, you add the fact that Florida has been phenomenal the last several years, and Tampa is like on the tail end of being phenomenal, but somehow they're still incredible. I think about, like, you mentioned that Florida, no one really, that there was like that magical run last year. I do wonder, so they went from their year with Burnett as the interim head coach where they won the President's Trophy. And it was like, they were so good that year.
Yeah.
And then they traded Huberdeau and they got Kachuk. And it's almost like Kachuk just took a little bit. And I wonder if they were better last year than their record showed. And then they come back this year and they just absolutely dominate again. And they look just so good. And I heard Elliot Friedman said this, and I think it's worth repeating. Like in the game against Toronto the other night, when they decided, we kind of want to play, they just obliterated Leafs. I mean, like, it was like when they like stop cruising in fourth and drop it into fifth, it's incredible. But I don't know. I want to talk about a little bit the keys, and this is kind of what we'll do for each of these series. Like, we'll talk about the keys to win for each team and why we're excited for it, and then who we think is going to win. When I think about the Tampa Bay Lightning and the keys that they are going to have to go through to win, I think about some of their veterans are just going to have to show that their couple of Stanley Cups wasn't all they needed. I think that you sit there and you look at people like Stamkos and Kucherov and Braden Point, and when you start going down that roster, it's just like a really good team. But what I would love to see from the Tampa Bay Lightning is for that team not to have to rely on just those top guys.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that you also have a lot of guys who have to play there that are not necessarily those top guys. And those individuals are going to have to be the ones that say, okay, when it comes down to it, the Florida Panthers roster is too good just to kind of exist. Just kind of exist where our top guys can take over. And so for me, for Tampa, it is depth, but it's also goaltending. And I think Vasilevsky has not been the guy he was in previous years this year. He was good. You mentioned that he was good. It is a battle of the goaltending. But Vasi's going to have to be who he was when they won those cups if they want to win this series. And I believe. What about you? Who are your keys for Tampa?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think everything you said right there is perfect for Tampa. I mean, I think they've got to get depth scoring, definitely. They can't, I mean, if they rely on one line, we know how that typically goes.
Yep.
But I think a big question mark, is how does Vasilevsky come out in these playoffs with, what was it, the last two seasons been kind of obviously got hurt and all this stuff, had surgery and whatever last season, but he was kind of subpar, what we didn't typically see out of Vasilevsky. And granted, he's not getting any younger, so that doesn't help either, but Can he still do it? 100%, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of their larger question marks. I really do. Because if he doesn't come out and perform up to his almost Vezina Trophy level, this is going to be a tough Florida team to stop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have any keys for Florida? Like, what does Florida have to do to win here?
Yeah, so I think Florida is kind of the same boat as Tampa. They've got good goaltending, assuming they can get it from Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
he's been good this year, by the way.
He has. He's been really good, especially for his age. He's been really good.
And Stolarz has been very good backing him up.
Yes, yeah. So I think they've got a good system there with their starter and backup. Because I mean, if Bobrovsky goes out for some reason, then yeah, I think they can do something with their backup there. But I don't think they need to rely solely on Tkachuk. Again, I mean, you're looking at the same kind of deal where you don't want to rely on one line. They've got to get depth scoring.
Here's what's interesting to me about the Panthers. Reinhart is their leading scorer this year. 57 goals. Can you believe that? For Sam Reinhart.
No.
But you have Sam Reinhart, huge season. Tkachuk, great year. Barkov, great year. Verhaeghe, great year. What I just named were three guys who are listed as centers. But then you also have the guys like Sam Bennett, who are not necessarily going to put up the points. But guess who Sam Bennett is? He is consistent. He is good. And he's going to be just a phenomenal player up and down the ice. You have a defensive core that is just rock solid defensively. You have Forsling. You have Montour. You have a resurging Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You have Ekblad. Like, you start going through this list of guys, and you're like, okay, we can do this type thing. And to me, if the Florida Panthers play their game, just play their game, I don't think they have a hard time beating Tampa.
No, I think that's what they found last year against Boston. They figured out, hey, if we just go do what we're supposed to be doing, I think we can win. And it kind of went on from there.
All right. In your book, what's this series look like? Who wins it? How many games?
I think Florida wins it in 6.
I agree. I would say Florida in 6. That's my prediction. I think that I hate to agree with you. I would love if we could disagree. But no, I think it's Florida in 6, and I think it's just the all around depth of Florida.
Yeah.
Tampa can't hang, and I think where the Florida veterans are in their prime, Tampa veterans are a little bit past their prime. Is where I would lean on that.